Vaheguru, 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 Vaheguru.
Naam Shri Vaheguru Sahib Ji. Farida kale mende kapde, kala menda ves. Gun hi parya main firan, lok kahen darves. Tu daryao दाना बीना मैं मछली कैसे अंत लहाँ. जह जह देखा तह तह तू है, तुझ ते निकसी फूट मरा. हम अवगुण परे एक गुण नाही, अमृत छाड़ बिखै बिख खाई. माया मोह परम पै पूले, सुत दारा स्यों प्रीत लगाई. एक उत्तम पंथ सुनियो गुर संगत, तह मिलंत जम त्रास मिटाई. एक अरदास पाठ कीरत की, गुर रामदास राखो शरणाई. दंडौत बंधन अनक बार, सर्ब कला समरथ. डोलन तेरा खो प्रभु, नानक दे कर हाथ. So before we begin our lecture, we don't have much time. We have just about an hour. So we'll try to make it quick. Before we beginning, let's just jump right into it. Let's fold our hands together, focus on Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj. ਤੇ ਸਾਰੀ ਸੰਗਤ ਗੱਜ ਵੱਜ ਕੇ ਕਲਗੀਧਰ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਜੀ ਦੀ ਬਖਸ਼ੀ ਫਤਿਹ ਬੁਲਾਓ ਜੀ. ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ. So yesterday Pai Sahib spoke about Hukam and connected it to Naam. Today we're going to be taking that same concept but looking at it into a little bit more depth, but understanding not just what Hukam is but where we fall into its place. And then to understand what the actual entire bigger picture of Hukam is, that's something that we cannot understand by ourselves. Because Maharaj says in Bani ke Eko Naam Hukam hai, Gur Sadgur Diya Bujaye Jiyo. To translate that, the one Naam, Eko Naam, that is the Hukam. Everything is Naam, and all of that is Hukam in itself. So Naam and Hukam are actually the same thing. That's what Pai Sahib spoke about yesterday. Eko Naam Hukam hai, and the only way you can understand what this Hukam is, ki Gur Satgur, the true Guru, Gur Satgur Diya Bujaye Jiyo, when the Guru wants you to understand this. Jadon Guru Sahib does kirpa upon you, and he helps you understand that. It's a realization. So that's why I put up these two words up here, because when we hear these concepts, spiritual enlightenment, could that just mean an experience that we're having? Could that just mean having a calm mind, having the concentration of our mind? Because what is true spirituality? Spirituality is understanding what your spirit is, understanding what you truly are in its essence. And you cannot do this without Guru Sahib. You might say, I'm on a spiritual journey, I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual. But the truth is that without Guru Sahib, without a Guru teaching you, without a Guru shining a path, the light upon the way, you'll be walking in darkness, right? So Gur Satgur, not just any Guru, the true Guru. Gur Satgur Diya Bujaye Jiyo. O thanu buja sakda. He can help you understand. Just bujh longe us cheez. You'll understand that. So my first question to you is, I want to ask you, because we're going to make this a little bit interactive. I've done this talk before. But if you might have heard me repeat a few concepts in maybe a few of my kathas here and there. But now I'm going to be structuring it in a very step-by-step manner. Because sometimes when we hear about Hukam and we hear this word Karam, and then we hear about, destiny, faith, all of these things, and then what does this entire thing fit inside of? What do we have to do step by step? Because if I say write a lecture, discover something, you would eventually come down, all right, go to a piece of paper and write step 1, brainstorm, do this, and then you pick up the piece of paper and you start writing step-by-step processes. If somebody's teaching you how to solve all of calculus, you start off with X doing something. You start a step, and then you do the next step, and then you do the next step. So even in all of this, if we look inside of Gurbani, Maharaj describes what all of hukam is, and then the steps that you need to take in order to achieve that as well. So to help understand, sometimes we might get questions also inside of our minds, saying when you look at Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj's Bani, there's so many concepts, there's so many things to understand, it's so big. How can I possibly understand all of that into my entire life? And then outside of that, without understanding that, we hear other people saying other things about spirituality. We hear different faiths, we hear different gurus, different sadhus, different people who are also walking a spiritual journey, and they have their own advice to give on this. So we go into this massive cloud where we don't even know where to pick and choose where to start from. So to help understand that, if you understand what the root of everything is, from that seed will sprout a small little branch, right? A sprout, and then that'll turn into roots. The roots will turn into a tree. The tree will have branches. The branches will have many, many leaves on top of them. But if we try to find the seed of the tree or the root of the tree by counting how many leaves there are, it's going to be impossible. So you have to dig deep, and you have to find where the root started from that seed. To help us understand this, I've said this before as well, to help us put this inside of our concept, all of Mool Mantar is just describing one thing. Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj starts their Bani from the number 1. We all understand that, right? You're allowed to say yeah, right? The number 1. Not even a letter. Maharaj didn't write it with an ed or a e and a k or a kakka and a syari. They didn't write it like that, because then those are 2 letters. That's duality right there. But Maharaj says no, just 1. So ek, then they describe that. The oong, through the vibration, the sound, the tuni, there was the akar that was created. Ik oong kar. Then they describe further that is the truth. That naam is the sat. Then they describe further karta, that is the creator. All of Mool Mantar is just the definition of ik. We all understand that much? You must have heard me say this before. All of Japji Sahib is written in Pauriyan. Pauriyan literally means staircase. If you're walking a staircase, you're going from one level to the other level. Floor number 1 to floor number 2. Step by step Pauriyan, you eventually reach what this understanding of Mool Mantar is. You reach Brahm Gyan. Where you might Brahm, in this sense meaning Akalpur, meaning God, Gyan, meaning experiencing and understanding. You're coming to that realization. Reaching the enlightenment of understanding what the entire Brahm Hukam is. So now, all of Japji Sahib is the definition of Mool Mantar. Mool Mantar is the definition of this one number. Now you might hear there are 31 rags in Guru Granth Sahib Ji. Then there's Varanke Vadik. There's extra Bani that's outside of rag. Then there's other Granths. Then there's more Vidya. Then there's history. Then what is this all trying to get us to? All of the 31 rags in Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj, they're the definition of Japji Sahib. Japji Sahib is the definition of Mool Mantar. Mool Mantar is the definition of this one number. But if Guru Nanak Dev Ji just threw this one number at you, you would be lost. Like, 1? What does that mean? So Maharaj, they go step by step and they help you understand what this ik actually is. So my question to you, I'm going to ask you guys now, is who do you think you are? What are you in the true sense? In whatever way you think it could be. That means raise your hand and be like me. I'm in a jokey mood. We're joking around all day before. So I'll try to keep it serious. Anji. Sorry? Okay, we think of ourselves as nothing. Alright, so I'm nothing, I have no status. As Nimarta Pav. Okay, what else?
Energy. Because we're not we're beyond the body.
Okay.
We're our soul, so.
Okay, so you were saying you are energy. What are you?
Soul.
You're a soul. What is a soul? Okay, a soul. Auntie? Jyot Swarup, okay. The light energy, same thing, है ना?
If everything is one, then I'm every
Okay, so you're getting the concept. Okay, now, but you know, you're down here, and sometimes we look. So I'm not speaking about you guys, Brahm Gyani, so not you guys. I'm speaking about myself. Down here, I'm like, we are all one, but I'm here, right? So it's like, okay, we are all one, but I don't like you, right? We're different. So we have that in our mind. We have this thing which we don't want concept. We like the concept that we are all one, but information is different than the experience. Information is not an understanding. Information is not a realization. It's completely different. Does that make sense? Right? Okay, so the first, I'm going to share a shabad with you first in Barni. It's a shabad by Guru Angad Dev Ji Maharaj. They say, "Te akhin bajon vekhna," can you guys see? "Akhin bajon vekhna, vin kanna sunna, पैरां बाजों चलना, विन हत्थां करना, जीभे बाजों बोलना, इउं जीवत मरना, नानक हुक्म पछाण के तो खसमै मिलना." They say this path to Akalpur, there's many meanings of this, but let's look at this in a little bit of depth. So, akhin bajon vekhna, vin kanna sunna. Realization is when you can see Akalpur, when you can see without even having eyes. How can somebody see if they don't have eyes? How can somebody hear if they don't have ears? That you might call them deaf. Then, how can I walk from here to there if I don't even have feet? I might need somebody's help, but I won't be able to walk without feet. It only makes sense. Then how am I supposed to do anything if I don't even have hands? How can I pick up something? Then how can I speak? How can I communicate with somebody if I don't even have a tongue? How can I make up words? And Maharaj is, by saying, they say, when you are able to start being able to see without eyes, when you can hear without ears, when you can walk and do things without hands and feet, and when you can even start speaking without a tongue, then you have truly become a marjivada. You have truly become dead while still living. Eon jivat marna. Whilst living, you've died. But what is this thing that's died? This is the thing that we have to look at. Then in the next line, they say, Nanak hukam pachan ke tau khasme milna. In this way, you will begin to start understanding what Maharaj's hukam is. Nanak hukam pachan ke. Once you get to that realization, understand what that hukam is, then there's just khasme milna, then you just become one with Akalpur. First is understanding what Akalpur is. So, I want you guys to imagine here right now, all of you sitting here, all of you just went blind. If all of you went blind right now, you might say that if I can't see anymore, then I can still communicate, do things by, maybe my hearing will improve. I can maybe hear if somebody's close or far. I can hear if there's a car close to me or not. What if you went deaf as well? Right? So now you're deaf. You can say, maybe I can feel around still. Maybe I can still speak. Maybe somebody can hear me. What if you can't speak? You're mute now as well. What if your body went paralyzed and you can't feel anything? You have no sense of feeling where you are. You're upside down. You have no idea who's picking up your body and taking you where. You have no sense of direction, no sense of up and down, left, right, and center. Now, what would you be experiencing at that time? What would there still be? What is your experience in that state of mind? When you don't have your five senses, also known as Gyanindri. Sorry? Panic. Of what sort of? Further explain that. Fear. Fear. Okay. Fear of what? Fear of what? Helplessness. Feeling trapped. Okay.
Maybe more like stillness.
Stillness.
No perception of fear.
Okay. So you don't have in the five senses, what is still there?
Your thoughts.
Okay, your thoughts are still there.
Your home is still there.
Home is still there. You guys are catching on. Hanji. Sorry? Okay. Ocha, love for the Guru, pyar, hai na? All of these things. So because you are still thinking, right? Therefore you have a thought of panic, you have a thought of fear, right? So it's a thought still. A love for Guru Sahib, you think that, right? And you would still be like, you know what, even in this state, I'm still going to stay in Chardi Kala, right? So you might think that, but it's still a thought. What is still there though? The still there is still your mind. Does that make sense? So somebody could be lighting your body on fire, cutting it and hurting it, but you wouldn't feel that. So it's not a physical fear where somebody says, I'll stab you now, because you won't feel that even if somebody does. But the only thing that is still left is your mind, right? So then, once you are able to see and hear and all of these things, when your mind in itself dies and you're able to look past what you call these 5 physical senses, you call this your sense of happiness, you call these the sense of your pleasure, the sense of sadness, the sense of love, all of these things are still based around these 5 senses, right? But looking a little step deeper than this, what if you're saying you have thoughts now, right? You have sense of fear. What if you were born like that? What if you were born and you didn't even have your 5 senses? So you're saying you would feel fear because I can't see anymore. You might be sitting there, you might be saying that I used to be able to look at the blue skies and the ocean and all of these things if you went blind now. But if you were born like that, you would have never known what a blue sky looks like. You don't even know there's such thing as a sky. It's like a blank memory card. You wouldn't miss your mom and dad because you don't even know you had a mom and dad. Right? Everybody agree with me? You wouldn't even know that you were born as a human. You wouldn't know. Because there's absolutely no thought. So there's no memory that's been built. That comes into the 4 parts of what your mind is made up of. Man, consciousness, chit, meaning chitte, minu chitta bol gaya, meaning your memory. Man, chit, buddh, meaning your intellect. Somebody that doesn't think properly, we have to buddhuma. We say that, right? So that means the intellect. And ankar, the sense that I am the one that's thinking this. So the little voice inside of your mind. So these 4 parts, we're not going to get too much into the depth of that. So understanding what this greater hukum is. So let's move on forward. There are these things which you take steps in order to achieve what you think enlightenment is in your life. Okay. What do you guys know? Can somebody tell me what those 3 words are up there? Achar, Shakshiyat and Sabbav. What do they mean? Not the achar you with your roti, not that one. Achar? No, it's not connecting.
Sabbat is like manner.
Yeah, Sabbav is okay, manner. Anybody else? Have you ever heard of the word nit achar? Nit achar? I know what you're thinking. Daily achar, roti. No. It means your daily conduct. Achar. Tera roz da achar kiya. What do you do daily? So nit achar. So what is your daily conduct? As in your daily name. Not just name doesn't just mean bani that you read. It just means daily routine. Your nit achar. Sabbav is your personality, your mannerisms, what type of person you are, which is still connecting to the mind, right? Then there's shakshiyat. Anybody know what that means? Anji? Oh no, you're scratching your nose.
Embodiment, orb of power.
Yeah, it means embodiment. So we say Baba Deep Singh or Bahut Vaddi Shakhsiyat si. Baba Deep Singh was a great powerful shakhsiyat, a great powerful embodiment, a great and powerful being. That's what shakhsiyat is. So connecting these 3, step 1, step 2, step 3. Think of it like that. First thing is your mind. You understand? Your mind thinks something. So let's break this up. I'm going to make it very, very simple. Step by step by step. How can you, in your life, go to achieving what that hukum is? Understanding what you really are. It's not a quick go to a Sikhi camp and be like, came back with Brahm Gyan. Right? Mind. What does a mind do? So now we all you guys just agreed with me that if you didn't have your 5 senses, the thing so you are not your hand, basically. That's what you're telling me. So because if you don't have your hand, you still are there, and you still have fear and panic and love and all of these feelings, right? If you don't have legs, if you can't see anything, you still are. Right? So basically you're saying in this sense that, okay, without me going into the wishy-washy stuff about spirituality, I can at least say that I'm the one that's thinking this. Correct? So your mind thinks something. So you were saying that if I don't have a mind, then hold on, I wouldn't be. It's my mind I am my mind in that sense. Everybody following me so far? Right? Stay with me because we'll see when we might start losing people. Andy.
The mind creates parameters of your life based off of its thoughts.
Right. So based off its thoughts. So it creates life based on what it thinks. The sole purpose of the mind is to think. Now there's two types of thoughts as well. It says sankalp and vikalp. You guys can see? So anybody want to explain to me what sankalp and vikalp is? Sankalp, you can think of it as a conscious thought. Right? Vikalp, an unconscious thought. So, sankalp, if I'm standing here and I think, you know what, my legs are kind of getting tired, I should have a seat now. I thought that and then I acted upon it. Does that make sense? Vikalp is something that unconsciously goes into my mind and I'm not able to let go of it. For example, somebody breaks up in a relationship. They're trying to forget it, but why can't they let go? It's still a thought. Your mind is still thinking something. You are not trying to think of fear. You're not trying to be scared. You just automatically get scared. Right? So those thoughts go into your mind. So conscious and unconscious thought. Everybody with me so far? Now, when I think something, first off, when I think something, what do I do after that? So if I say, I want to, I'm thirsty, so I want to pick up that water bottle and I want to drink. And I say, you know what, I'm starting to get thirsty. I'm going to go and I'm going to pick up that water bottle. But the signal is sent to my hand. My hand is going to go reach for the water bottle. My hand is not going to turn around and say to me, make me. Right? It's not going to, my foot's not going to be like, I don't feel like going there. You make me walk all day. Why don't you walk today? Right? It's not going to say that. So your foot doesn't think. Your hand doesn't think. Only your mind thinks. But your hands, your feet, they do things. They do karma. So these are known as karma indre. Keep these words in mind. So there's gyan indre and karma indre. Just very simplifying these things. Gyan indre, gyan, anything that you get information from and it goes to your mind. Your five senses. You feel something, your mind gets information. You see something, your mind gets information. There's a banda in front of me. Right? You hear something, you get that. Smell, taste. Karma indra is anything that you do actions with. Your tongue is not only a gyan indra, but it's also a karma indra. Because you can also speak things with it. You can also do things. You can do actions with it. So when you think something, then you do an action. So if I want that water, if I want water, I think I'm thirsty, whether it's a sankalp or a vikalp, and then I do that action. So let's go back to sankalp and vikalp now. So we spoke about a sankalp, now let's talk about vikalp. You're sitting in a darbar or in a lecture hall listening to a lecture about spiritual enlightenment. Right? You are. So you're sitting there, and what happens is, as the person in front is speaking and you're listening to the words that are going inside of your ears and through the gyan that are going into your mind, and you're processing this information whether you like it or not, right? So you have this information and you have a thought of something which is going on with your own thoughts in your own mind. Now somebody walks down the stairs and goes that way and they're wearing a blue suit. And you just saw it out of the corner of your eye. But you're still focusing on here. You gotta stay focused. That person goes by, and next thing you don't even realize that when that person goes by the blue suit, that reminded you, oh, I used to have a blue car the same color. And then, but what happened to him? My brother crashed it. I don't even talk to my brother anymore. My brother lives in Canada now. Oh, I haven't visited in Canada. By the way, the guy that's standing in front here, he's also, he's from Canada. And his accent is a bit funny. And then, we were joking around about accents earlier this morning. Now, the person that we were joking around with, she said she was going to go into med school. I had a friend who also wanted to go to med school, but now he became an astronaut. Now, this astronaut, I don't know if he went to the moon or not or whatever, but the first astronaut, according to America, is Neil Armstrong. And what's happening with the Black Lives Matter movement? Anyways, how many worlds and stars and what happened to the Mars mission? Look where your mind is now. Yet you're sitting here, you might be in the Kirtan Darbar, you might be like, Hamri karo haath, but your mind is all the way over there somewhere. You might be sitting there on the Vajja, Vaheguru, Vaheguru, but your mind is not consciously there. Does everybody follow me there? So that's a vikalp. There's a pankti in Bani that says, Kota kota manakas vatti lave. This is just baby steps. Your mind goes off, Maharaj says, just like a cow herder, shepherd, there's a bunch of sheep that are walking down the road. If you've seen in India, they just take over the entire road. Right? So there's just cows and sheep everywhere. And what the cow herder is doing, he's whipping them. And what happens when the cow goes off the road? So it's supposed to be traveling from point A to point B. It goes off the road and it starts eating the grass, eating something it's not supposed to be. What that cow herder does, he whips that cow and says, get back on track. Maharaj says, when you catch your mind going off, beat it, bring it back on the track. So you have to consciously fight your mind. Maharaj is, then there's other pangatiyan in Bani which describe that challenge of fighting, the war that goes on in your mind as well. Everybody still with me? So you put it back on the path. But here's the thing, you're not going to be able to catch yourself right when you go off. You're only going to catch yourself that you went off once you realize that, oh, I just missed out on the last 10 minutes. Only then. So let me tell you something. There was Sant Gyani Gurupachan Singh Ji, Khalsa. And he was teaching his students one day. And he told his students that today we're going to do Japji Sahib. We're going to read Japji Sahib all together. But here's the deal. When we read it all together here today, everybody is going to be reciting it. But as soon as you realize that your mind went off track, because sometimes you might be reading Ek Onkar Satanam, next thing you know, you don't even realize it's already over. Your mind was somewhere else the entire time. So your tongue was reciting it, but nothing was really going into your mind, right? So when he said that as you guys are reciting it, when you see that you guys have went off, you won't realize as soon as you go off, you'll realize when you gain control of your consciousness again, and you'll bring it back. So what you have to do is, whoever goes off, you have to stand up, and you have to tell the entire class, this is where I went, this is the last line that I remember, and this is why I went off, this is why I went off track, and this is the journey that my mind went from, and this is where I found myself afterwards. So you have to explain to everybody the journey of your mind. So everybody is doing it, one person gets up, explains it, one person gets up, explains it, and then they would restart back from the very beginning, from where that person left off. One Singh gets up, and the last line that he remembers, so they're like later on down in Japji Sahib now, and he remembers Amrit Vela Sachna Vadiyai Vichar. And he got up and he's like, Babaji, my mind went off, and then he forgot that he had to actually explain the journey of the mind, why it went off. So then Babaji's like, where was your mind? He's like, oh, he didn't realize that he actually says. So he said, Amrita Vela Sach. Now, as soon as the word Amrita Vela came, I remember that all of us Singhs, we woke up early in the morning today, according to Amrita Vela. And then when we woke up in the morning, I took a shower. And when I took a shower, I had a wet kashera. And the wet kashera, I threw over the balcony, the railing, and it was hanging there to dry. And then I started hearing wind. So when it was windy, I started thinking in my mind, is my kashara blown away or is it still on there? And then what if I can't get another kashara? Like then, Babaji's going to get mad at me, I'll have to borrow one of the things. So his mind just went crazy over a kashara. But it started off from Amrita Vela. He was thinking of the arth, Amrita Vela Sach now, but look how small and subtle it is. It just goes off like that. As Maharaj says, Kotta kotta manikas vatti lave. Step by step, you have to watch your every move. This is why Maharaj says they speak about Dhyan Shakti. Consciously aware. The more abhyas you do, the more meditation, all of these things which you talk about, raising awareness. Raising awareness is not Brahm Gyan. Keep that in mind. Raising awareness, being alert of your surroundings, is a stage which you go through to achieve Brahm Gyan. Is not Brahm Gyan in itself. Right? So if you say, I've controlled my mind, you've not achieved Brahm Gyan yet. completely. If you can focus consciously and not get distracted, you still are not a Brahmgyani. You have focus, that's what it is. So now you do actions based on those things. So, for example, I have a thought, a good positive thought or a negative thought. How much time do we got? Time is running out. Anyways, I got a positive thought and a negative thought. So I can also have a thought, a lustful thought. I can have an angry thought. Baji sitting in front of me could really get on my nerves. So I think, you know what? My first thought is, no. Maharaj teaches me Saj, right? Because that's also a thought. So it's a battle going on in my mind. But then it gets so heavy, he just gets on my nerve. I clock him across the face, right? I clock him, no, I won't. I clock him across the face, and I've just done an action now. So it comes a karma. So don't be scared of that word, karma. Karma just literally just means action. So you've done something, and because it overtook your mind, or you did that, or you just chose to do it. It could be a positive thought as well. You're walking down the street, somebody begs for money, and you say, you know what, I got a few change, might as well give it to you, or why don't I buy you lunch today, right? You say, Maharaj teaches me compassion. You thought that in your mind, you did the action. Or you could be walking down and somebody begs, you'll be like, I got money, I could buy him lunch from here, even though I don't want to give him money, I might just buy him food that he can eat. But, you know, might as well save those few bucks for myself. So you could also have that thought. That's another action that you didn't give it. You did or you didn't. Anything you do, anything you think about, it's an action you do of whether you do it or you don't do it. Does that make sense? So now, as you repeat this, as you think something and you do it over and over again, the tendency to do it, it increases. So what do you call something that you do over and over again? You call it a habit, right? So a habit, you repeat, you think, you action. So you have a habit of lying. First you thought, you know what, I don't want to tell the truth because it might get me in trouble, so you lie. Very simple, so that we can understand. You lie, then next time it gets easier, and it gets easier, and then eventually, you know, you keep on lying, and you don't even have to think about it. Automatically, it just goes straight to the action. It unconsciously skips your intellect, and just deeply ingrained in your memory bank now. Does that make sense? Okay, so when that could be with a positive thing as well. You have a habit of automatically waking up in the morning, and the first thing you do is you do 10 minutes of Simran. It's just a habit, right? It's not Brahm Gyan yet, it's just a habit. Right? You have a habit of waking up early in the morning. You have a habit of eating healthy. You have a habit of going to the gym every day, or you have a habit of not going to the gym every day. So, but one person, imagine, gets up in the morning and he struggles to, you know, he's like, man, I wish I would have woken up earlier. I rush during the day, and then I go to work and come home, I'm stressed out, and then my day goes like that, and then I sleep late, and then I wake up late again. That night he sits there and he's like, tomorrow I'm going to wake up at 2 a.m. Tomorrow I'm going to wake up at Amrit Vela. That's it. End all be all. Amrit Vela. Tomorrow morning hits, it's 9 a.m. again. Right? And he's like, damn it. And then he says, you know what? Tonight, no matter what, Amrit Vela tomorrow. And then next morning, damn, 9 o'clock again. And he goes back and forth in that. But then he goes to ask somebody who wakes up early in the morning every single day and reads Barney, wakes up in the morning. So it takes out time to meditate and sing Kirtiri of Akalpur. And he's asking him, how do you get up in the morning? He's like, you just do Ardas, right? You just do Ardas. And you're like, okay. So you stand there, Maharaj waking me up in the morning. Next morning, chalo, 8:30 this time, right? He still didn't get up early. But it's become a habit for him. It has become a habit. And he'll say that it's just a habit. You just got to slowly build your way up. You know, 8:30, 8, 9. Obviously, Maharaj is the one that's going to make you do that. Ardas is important. But it becomes a habit. He doesn't think about it. The person that says that, you know what, I got to quit eating cake, comes in front of him. Oh man, chalo shaki lene ya. It's another samosa for breakfast. But then you ask the other person who says, no, I'm going to drink that green smoothie. Right? You know what I'm talking about this morning. So he says, no Coke. And then he doesn't even have to fight it in his mind anymore. Why? Because it's become easy now. He doesn't have to fight his mind, no Coke. No Coke, I have to get the green smoothie. No Coke, I have to get the green. He doesn't do that. You put Coke in front of him, he'll be like, I don't drink this. Main Coke nahi peenda. You might hear that. I don't eat sweet that much, right? I only eat healthy. I only eat at a certain, because that person has, for that food part of it in his life, he's controlled it. He's disciplined it, right? So keep that in mind, discipline. Okay, everybody still with me? I'm going to speed it up now. So as you create habits, it starts affecting your body, mind, intellect. You have a habit of drinking, right? It's going to affect you. You have a habit of cheating, lying. These things are going to affect you. You have a habit of keep staying positive in your mind. That's going to affect you as well. So it starts affecting your body, your entire mind, and your intellect. Then it goes so deep and ingrains into what you might hear this word called antishkaran, or also known as antahekaran. So unconscious mind or subconscious mind, but something, it's a lot deeper than subconscious as well. So this is where you don't think. So right now, all this information that you're processing through these words of mine, you're thinking about them consciously. So anything that you might think, but like, this won't really affect me, to be honest, it does affect you. Because sometimes the tiniest and the slightest things, they affect your unconscious mind, and they get stored in your mind in such a way that when you say, I have a gut feeling, it's not your gut doesn't think. It's your subconscious, unconscious mind that's telling you that. It's not like mere andron Rabb bolya, that I had to go and steal those $200. It was for a good cause. No, right? That's just your unconscious mind that's ingrained. So you've ingrained it inside of yourself. That, you know what? That's why it's so hard. Somebody might be thinking, I have to let go of society's pressures. But this won't let them, because they've been through that entire habit, thoughts, actions, their entire life. Maybe they've gone through 45 years of that, and now suddenly they come to a Sikhi camp and they're like, you have to stop thinking about what society tries to tell you. And they say, I agree, but they just can't do it yet. So how do they change that? You have to start implementing the right thoughts. Maharaj and Bani again and again, they say, Mere man ekasyon chitlai. They say, Mere man again and again, mind focus, mind do this. Right? For a reason. Man te bahut jor ditta Maharaj ne. Focus on the mind a lot. Through the mind, through the thoughts, through the actions. They say, if we speak about the Panch Khands as well, Tanam Khand, Gyan Khand, then Saram Khand. Action, applying. Bringing those things and actually living this. Sat Gur ki Bani, Sat Swarup hai, Gur Bani Bani hai. You want to become the living embodiment of walking, talking, speaking Gurbani. Not just know that this Shabad kind of means this. It's much deeper than that. You don't even have to think about the Shabad, but you automatically carry that out in your life because you've ingrained it so deeply. If I told you to wake up every single day in the morning and read this every day for the rest of your life and never forget it, even if somebody's trying to kill you, that must mean that it's important, right? I wouldn't just say that just because I feel like it. So if Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj is telling us, read these Baniya, first thing you do in the morning is think about Akalpur. It's there for a reason. You must have all experienced this. I'm sure you have. When you fall asleep watching TV, and the TV is on, you fall asleep on the couch, and next morning you wake up, and maybe somebody in your family has turned the TV off now. Maybe when you were younger, the TV is off, but as soon as you wake up, the thoughts that are still going on in your head are the thoughts of whatever was on the TV show last night. Or when you dream, your intellect is not there, but whatever else is still there. So it might be according to whatever happened throughout that day. It might be according to something that's happening in your life at that time. Or it might be something based on what you've seen or experienced when you were younger. Or something that even is a fear that you keep in your mind based on some sort of experience. Right? So unconsciously, antahkaran. Antishkaran also means looking inside. When you start looking outside, that's called behkaran. So unconscious mind, this rangat starts having an effect. It's based around your past, your composition, and your characteristics. This eventually leads to your embodiment, the shakhsiyat. So somebody could say, you might be thinking, okay, you know what, I'll drink a little bit, I'll do that action, it becomes a habit of drinking, somebody calls you a drunk. Because they're like, that person, oh, he's the town drunk. Because all he does is just drink. You become the embodiment of what drinking is, right? That's what you're known for. Somebody might call you oh, that person, oh to bada sacha banda ya. He's a truthful person. Because your habits, your actions, your intellect, your entire life is based around this one thing, and not just in your intellect and information, deep down in your antashkaran, you've become that, because you can't just think it and skip straight to the be like, and I'll just implement it there. It doesn't work like that. So when you become the embodiment of lust, right? For extreme example, somebody has a thought, lust, they fight it. You can have the option to cut it off here. You can say, I'll cut off, I'm not going to do this action. You fight that lustful act. But then maybe it gets heavy, extreme example, that person goes and rapes somebody. Right? Rape somebody, first time it's hard. Maybe he does that again. Now, he's become a rapist. You become a rapist, it starts affecting him unconscious. Next thing you know, it's just conscious. Maybe he's like a serial rapist. And then he's become the embodiment of a rapist, but he's thinking in his mind maybe, why do people call me such a bad person? I have so much compassion inside of myself. Might be thinking this. Like, look, I wake up every morning and I feed my pet dog food before I even eat. Look how much compassion that is. But he's not looking at what he's become. He's not looking at what the entire thing is, that why is the world calling him a rapist? He's not looking at that. He's just stuck in his own mind. So that you would call ankar in that sense, my own selfishness. Ankar is not homme. Homme is something else. That's just what we call pride. Right? What we think we are. But it's not what we actually are. That's just an illusion of, what we see in the mirror. So, another extreme example, for example, a murderer. Why does people call me a murderer? Right? I'm pretty compassionate. But he's not looking at the entire thing. Then you can also become the embodiment of truth, embodiment of compassion. You could become the embodiment of courage. You can become the embodiment of being active, of a healthy lifestyle, whatever it is, overall. Is everybody still following me? Yeah? Alright. So now when you become the embodiment of something, I'm going to share this shabad with you. Maharaj in Barni, they say, Dadda, dost na deu kise, dost karam mai apneya, jo main kiya, so main paya, dost na dije avarjana. Whatever you do, jo main kiya, so main paya. Whatever seeds that I plant, whatever I do, don't blame anything that happens to you on somebody else. Dost na deu kise, dost karam mai apneya, all the karms that you have done, that is why, all the things that you have done, that is why this is happening to you. Don't blame anybody else, because whatever seeds that you have planted, that's the fruit that you receive. Everybody with me? So if you understand, you become the embodiment of something, automatically your mind is going to think like that. You don't even have to think about not thinking the other way. It just is. You say, that's why you become the embodiment of love. You become the embodiment of a pagat. ਜਿਹੜੇ ਹਿਰਦੇ ਨੂੰ ਰੱਬ ਪਾ ਗਿਆ. Or another example of that, another meaning of that, is the person who has enticed the heart of Akalpur. That is known ਹਿਰਦੇ ਨੂੰ ਪਾ ਗਿਆ, pagat. So you are the embodiment of that Rab Rupi saint. You don't even have to think. This is why Maharaj says, Kabir sant na shadei santai, je kotak milaya sant. No matter if you become that state of love in this stage, there's absolutely no way somebody can come up to you, show you anything lustful, show you anything angry, get angry at you, and you react back in a different way. Because you've just become the embodiment. There's no mal left. There's no dirt left there anymore. Once you become the embodiment of the truth. You can become the embodiment of whatever you want. You can become the embodiment of dirt. So it's reflected in the way you look, the way you speak, the way you interact with people, the way you live your life, the way you think, the way that is deeply ingrained in your antashkaran as well. And then, based on that, automatically, the next step that you take, the next thing you think about, or the next action you do is going to be based on what you are. Does that make sense? And this is how Maharaj in Barni, they say, Sabna likhya vudi kalam. Vudi. Vudi means ever-flowing pen. Maharaj wrote everybody's life. Everything is ona de hath. But I want to ask you this question. All of this, what is it inside of? It's one question. No, the mind is right here. What is the mind inside of? Okay, a bit less than that, because Hukam is everything. Sorry? No. The mind is not it's not in the body. What is the body inside of?
The world.
What is the world inside of? What is the creation inside of? But less than that. What's in between? Naam is beyond. Naam is everything. One step. Naam. Okay. There's something. So something that Naam is inside or Naam is outside of, but everything else we just said is inside of. Time. Kal. First you think, then you do, then it becomes this. You live your life. Step one, you have a breath you're going through. If we say Sabna Lakhya Vudi Kalam, if Maharaj is Akalpur, we all say this, the timeless Lord. Right? In the English translations. Oh, timeless Lord. But what does timeless mean? Why do we try to put God inside of time? If Maharaj wrote your destiny, when did he write it? 10 years ago? 100 years ago? When he created the world? When? Because that means you just fit God inside of time. But Maharaj is beyond time. Sabna likhya vudi kalam. This is hard. This is where our mind cannot understand. It's hard to understand this. Because God is outside of time. We only think according to time. Our mind is conditioned in such a way, so deep that we just can't break that. The way all the information we receive through the Gyanandare, the karma and the actions that we do, the way we live our life. I wake up in the morning, today I'm going to do this, these are my tasks for the day, this is my schedule. Right? Step one, second 2, second 3. Just time is ticking. Maharaj is beyond that. All of this is inside of time. So now to help understand, you are doing this, you have power. Within your own hands, you create your own affairs. But to understand the hukam, well, Baljit Singh was saying this, now we're going through the detailed steps of it. So you understood what Bhai Sahib was speaking yesterday about hukam and naam. But all of this is inside of Kal. But Maharaj is beyond Kal. But Kal meaning time. But here's the thing, Kal is also God, and everything beyond time is also God. So now you understand how you fit in here now. But now what are you actually? Are you the mind? Maharaj says, no, you're not the mind either. A mind is just held up by this one thing called home. You've seen this before. That's why you're at this camp. So ocean is Akalpur. Quick example before I step into the next thing. So everything that's inside of here, this is all this last chart that we just went through. This is all you. This is all your mind. All of that thing, it was just your mind. Now this thing that's here is what we call the homme. Now understanding what this homme is, this is something that is very difficult. Because once realizing this and breaking the information is different. We can talk about information here today, but experiencing, realizing it is much different. So you might say you are the Atma. Sorry? You want me to go back? Well, this is wave, is Vaheguru. Right? So the ocean is Akalpur. So you might say you are the Atma. You've heard that, right? Let me tell you, the Atma is the Paramatma. So you said, Man tu jot swaroop hai apna mool pachan. Oh mind, you are the energy. You are Akalpur. Understand this. Understand what your root is. Ek. So do you understand what Mool Mantra is trying to describe to you now? Everything is ek, but let's look at it in more depth. Everything is Akalpur. But then what are you? What is this thing that you see? I see two here. Atma is Paramatma. Okay, keep that in mind. The way we think of our bodies, let's take it step by step as well. I'm going to try to complete this in the next few minutes. So what you think you are, somebody might say, okay, you say light energy, that's too wishy-washy. Somebody might be thinking, but they might not be saying it. They might be like, these guys are crazy, man. I'm a human being. I'm a bandaya, I'm a budiya, I'm a guy and a girl. I have a hand, I'm a human, that's it. I don't know, I'm a mind, that's beyond that, I don't know anything. You might be thinking that. But that is all what you call the asthul sarir. So in Bani comes up, tu sukham hoa asthuli. Maharaj, you are suksham. Suksham meaning the non-physical, the invisible. And the asthul meaning everything visible. Does that make sense? We'll continue on. Asthul is the physical body. Anything that you can touch, anything you can see, anything that you can hear, anything you can taste. So I can see Bhai Sahib's face. I can touch Bhai Sahib's dastar. I can touch his hands. I can, if I was the doctor, perform a surgery, I can touch his brain. I can touch his brain cells. I can touch his bones. I can touch his bone marrow. I can touch all of that. But can I touch his mind? No, right? So the thing where we discussed before, when, if you were born, or if you had lost all your 5 senses right now, you would still be there. I can't touch that thing. Right? Look at the avastha of those saints then. We speak about Paimati Dasji, body being cut. We speak about them. Let's try to understand what state of mind they're at. They don't base their life around these 5 things, about seeing something, experiencing something, enjoying something. Their enjoyment is coming from somewhere else. So physical body, and that's all physical. Then there's something called Suksham Sarir, which might call your mind. The thing that I can't touch, your thoughts. I can't grab your thought and be like, I took it from you, right? I can't play that game with the kids. I can take their toys, I can take the nose away from them and trick them that way. I can't trick them by taking their thoughts. Suksham is made up of what we just discussed, the invisible body, man, chit, buddh, ankar, right? Your mind, intellect, memory, and your pride. Everybody can see? So now, I want to ask you, so you might think, if I'm the Atma, what do we sometimes describe as Atma? You might be like the soul. Now tell me the definition of what the soul is. Soul. Yeah.
Collection of experience. However much energy you can gain from an experience.
So your Suksham body it's still your experience. So you are still connected to it. I agree with you. So now imagine, if I die standing here right now, if I'm dead, I've dropped here, right? Everybody's like, oh no, body just fell. But I stand here in a transparent, like I'm white baby powder all over me, and I'm see-through, like ghost spirit form, and I'm standing here in the same clothes, my body's there, you guys are all looking at my body, you've seen this in movies, right? I'm speaking about our mental conditioning. If my body is here, I'm standing here, and I'm invisible, transparent, I'm like a ghost, and I'm saying, oh, I see my body, no guys, I'm over here, but you guys can't see me, right? But look at that ghost you might see is still dressed exactly like me. It might have the same beard, the same damalla, the same face, the same look, and I'm still seeing everything. I still cease to exist. So that is not the Atma. You might call that the Suksham Sarir, the invisible body, the Suksham body. Because my mind is still, you hear stories of Mahapurukhs being able to use the Suksham body, going from place to place. That's a different topic. But it's still the sense of you inside of that you are still the one that's thinking this. Suksham body. Okay, I'm not going to go into too much depth in this. Next is Karan Sarir. Karan is the cause of why you even exist, the cause of your existence. It is what Maharaj Nimbani, they say, how can you break that wall of falsehood? How can you destroy that? How can you, when Maharaj says, Jab apa parka mit gaya jat dekha ta tu. Yesterday Baljit Singh said, what is Naam? Naam is seeing, experiencing Naam everywhere. But how do you experience that? If you still live your life inside of this one box, without breaking that box, you won't be able to see that. It's like living your life with all the blinds closed, and you live there so long that when somebody comes and says to you that, hey, have you seen the sun lately? Like, what sun? There's no such thing as a sun. I don't believe in the sun. Show me the sun. I've never seen the sun, because you've never opened the curtains before. Karan Sarir. People also translate to your swas, because you have your breath going. Right? That is the cause of all this. So here, if you didn't have let's go back to that example of if you were born without your 5 senses. Everybody still with me? If you were born without the 5 senses, you said you would still be there, but you wouldn't be able to think anything. You wouldn't have any thoughts because you haven't filled your memory with anything. You would still be connected to that. Maharaj and Bani, they say in the mother's womb you were connected to Akalpur. As soon as you broke away, they give the analogy that you started to cry and you started feeling that pain of separation right away. They describe that. Now, if we think of that child, we came onto this world, we still had that Karan City, because if you don't have that, the rest of this you won't have. that means you would already be one with God. Does that make sense? You would already be one with God, then there was no point in you even coming into this world. Maharaj and Bani, they say, Avan jana hukum te seka, hukum buj samavenge. Bahod hum kahe avenge. Why would I come back into this world? Because Avan jana, coming and going, all of this creation is inside of your hukum. Once I understand your hukum, why would I come back here? I'll become one with you. Right? So because you had this wall of falsehood, that's why you even came onto this world. The mission of this life was to get rid of that home. But what did somebody like me start doing? Came onto this world and we started stacking more on top of it. So we start making it stronger. Does that make sense? So speaking this in more detail, how does your mind connect? How does the asthul connect to the suksham? Right? So your mind, without the gyan indre, it won't be able to take any knowledge in. Right? So if you start looking inwards towards your atma, recognizing the truth, the ek, sachai, that's what sadhana, that's what gurbani over and over, it's like a drill that's going through that, trying to get you to break through that wall. That's what bani is. Now, if you are basing your life outside, for example, out here is the world. The asthul, this thing is your body. Outside is the world. The world outside says something. And you start believing that instead of looking inwards. So your entire life is based around the outside. Trends change. Keep this in mind. Anything that changes and it goes from one state to another state is false. Because it changes. It's not true. So you age. Your body ages. It's not true. Fashions, trends change. Obviously they're not true. World temperatures change. The world even grows and gets smaller. The earth itself, the earth is not true. There's only one thing that is unchanging, unwavering. That is Naam. Naam has been there since the beginning of time. This is what Maharaj, they describe this entire thing. At the very end, they say, you know what? Focus on the truth. They say, Aad Sach, Jugad Sach, Happy Sach, Nanak Hosi Pi Sach. Don't focus on anything else. Focus on that one that is the truth that doesn't change. Even when this world is gone, not here anymore, and the whatever 100 of us that are here, they won't be either. Right now, you might be thinking that there's 100 of us here. Yes, there's 100 minds. Yes, there's 100 bodies. There's 100 experiences. There's 100 life journeys that went through life, put in different things in their mind, did different things, and now you're all sitting here together in this room. But the reality is that's just the mind, the body, the experiences. But there's not 100 of us sitting here. There's only one of us sitting here. So what are you? You are everything. You are God. You are Akalpur. So everything is, but nothing is. If that makes sense. Sab kuch hai, par kuch bhi nahi hai. So everything is true. Akalpur is everything. Because Rava vich katya vasya hoya. He's each and every single grain essence that you think of, because Maharaj is living inside. Maharaj, tu Suksham. Now do you understand that, Pankati? Tu Suksham, you are, when the world wasn't even there, when nothing physical was there, Maharaj, you created the world through the Hond, and then what did you do? Tu Suksham hoa asthuli, and you created a form for yourself. Sargun, Nirgun, Nirankar, Son Samadhi. That you were form and you were formless. Maharaj describes the form of Akalpur. Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj in Jap Sahib, they describe the formless Akalpur. Jap Sahib, Guru Gobind Singh Ji is standing, they're speaking to you at the, it's not easy to understand what Jap Sahib Bani is saying. That's why they put Japji Sahib before it. Even though Japji Sahib is taking you to that Brahm Gyan, to understand it, and then Jap Sahib is standing there, you're looking at God, and Guru Gobind Singh is describing it to you. He's describing Brahm Gyan to you. Japji Sahib is the portnya to attain Brahm Gyan, steps to attain Brahm Gyan. Jap Sahib is Brahm Gyan. Is the actual physical ajappa jap, where you're not doing anything, it's just happening involuntarily, because there is only one. So here, man, it's just the game of your mind. So don't base your thing on the outside. That's why Maharaj gives us a physical discipline. They give us a physical. That's why if we base ourselves on the outside, yet we want to go and merge one with Akalpur on the inside, we say dil sacha hona chahiye, right? But according to who is your dil sacha? According to who is your heart truthful? To yourself? To your unconscious mind? To whatever you've ingrained? To whatever people have told you? Or do you want to go to the truth itself and find Dil Sacha Hona Chahiye? The real meaning behind Dil Sacha Hona Chahiye when your Dil isn't even there anymore. Right? That is what Jadon Sacha. If we look at the word Kev Sache Ara Hoye, Kev Kuda Tutta Pal. How do you break that wall of falsehood? They say Kev Sache Ara. Sache Ar, Sach meaning truth. Ar comes from a Sanskrit word that means Alle. Alle means house. The house of truth. How do you become one with the house of truth? How do you get into that house of truth? They say Kev Kuda Tutta Pal. Hukum Rajai Chalana. Accept the hukum. Go according to the hukum. Understand the hukum. Hukum di raza vich chalana. Nanak likhya, and I'll keep this with you at all times. Don't ever forget this. That is what the true mission is. That is the first question Maharaj tells you. Then, if you look at that as well, Kev Sache Ara Hoya Kev Kuda Tuttapal, where do we place our hopes in life? We place it on the outside. You place it in something that changes. Something that changes is going to be destroyed. You place your hopes in something that is destroyed, your hopes will be destroyed with it. Place your hopes in something that is true, your hopes will always be there forever. And you will become one with God because your hopes will always be there. Does that make sense? So now, Man, mal, meaning your mal, is made up of mal, vikhep and avarn. Three things: dirt, restlessness, and ignorance. Ignorance is this ignorance. How do you get rid of that mal? You go back to that chart, the seva. That gets rid of your mal. Then obviously there's a whole different discussion of what true type of seva is. Then vikhep is the restlessness in your mind. What is restlessness? How do you get rid of that? That is what Simran does. That is what focusing your drishti, focusing your consciousness, man birti ekagar karne vaste, getting rid of that restlessness. So you actually have the true type of bowl to put that amrit inside of. If you don't even have a bowl or a panda that's worthy to put such a immortal thing, a priceless thing, valuable thing as amrit inside of that, amrit is not going to go into that. Three types of avasthas which I'm going to quickly go through, and then I'm going to stop it here because Baji told me to cut it short because we've got to finish on time. Three avasthas which are described, and this is the root of all the Veds. This is the root of all the Shastras, the Simrtiyan. You go to any religion, these three avasthas will be spoken about. But Maharaj, they go beyond this. First, let's understand this, the states of the mind, and then Maharaj says, no, you have to go beyond this as well. There's something beyond this. But this is keeping it very practical. First stage, Jagrat avastha, meaning you're awake and aware. Right? So you're consciously thinking, you're alert. The second is Supana avastha, when you're sleeping and you're dreaming, meaning your body is sleeping. Third is Sushapati avastha. It's basically the dreamless state of mind. Deep sleep where your mind is not thinking anymore, but your mind still is there. That's a third state of mind. These are different phases your mind goes throughout the 24 hours or tape out of the day. What does it mean? Okay, let me just quickly tell you this. There are three types of bhakti. So I didn't put it on here, I forgot. But three types of bhakti. Number one is Sarirdi bhakti. The bhakti which you do with your body. Second type is the bhakti of your mind, Manadi bhakti. Third is Shabda Dwara bhakti. So let's go into this. Sarirdi bhakti, you are doing seva. Very good. You have to start on one place, step by step, in which you understand. If a saint told somebody, just go sit in that corner and just do Shabda Dwara Bhakti. Don't even recite anything. Even if you just tell them do Mandi Bhakti, just within your mind, just contemplate Akalpur, become one with God. He might sit there and be like, okay, I don't know what God is. Okay, I don't know what am I supposed to focus on? He's lost in his own thoughts. So the physical, it all starts off with the physical. So when you recite Simran with your tongue, that is physical. When you, with your eyes, you read Gurbani, that is physical. When you do seva with your hands, that is physical. So you can't say, we don't need that. And we don't want to do that. Because it all starts with the things that, you learn at kids' camps. Seva does this for you. Simran vi karya karo. Naam japo, kirt karo. You hear of these things, right? You can't say that's just for kids. So Sri Di Bhakti, even doing Pandyandi Seva, doing all of these things, reading Gurbani, cleaning, even doing Sangat in itself, that's Sri Di Bhakti. Mandi Bhakti is where your mind, look, speaking about all three states of your mind, you can only do Seva, physical Seva, when you're in this state, Jagat Avastha, when you're aware. You can't do Mandi Bhakti if you're only aware and not in the other two states. There's a Mahampurkh, whenever he would go to sleep, he would randomly, he was quite old, he would start speaking in his sleep. When he would speak in his sleep, one time a Gursikhi walked by and he heard that Babaji is speaking in their sleep. So what did he do? He heard that they're reading Gurbani. When they're reading Gurbani, he sits down, opens a pothi of Guru Granth Sahib Ji, and starts following along. Word for word, letter for letter, Shabad after Shabad after Shabad after Shabad, continuous all night. Then before Babaji gets up, the Singh closes it, goes. The next night Babaji goes to sleep. Before they go to sleep and start speaking in their sleep again, the Singh comes back, opens his butti, they continue the night where they left off the night before. So even in their state of sleep, they are doing Mandi Bhakti. Look, they're not aware. They might be sleeping. They might not even be dreaming. But even in the state where you're not even dreaming, Akalpur is still residing inside your mind. You know what Ath Pair is? A Pair is made up of 3 hours. So it means the phase of a day. There are 8 phases of the day. 8 times 3 equals 24. 24 hours of the day, contemplate God. So you might be like, okay, 2 hours in the morning, half an hour in the evening, I'm good to go. No, but Mara says, how can you do if it's just, if you think meditating on God is just sitting there and actually doing something physical. That's step one. Step 2 is Mandi Bhakti, where it goes so deep, you don't even have to think about it. You've become the embodiment of that. Where you've become, it's so deeply ingrained into your antashkaran. You take it step by step though. You create the habit first, you do all of that. And then the third stage, because look, in that second stage is still the mind. You might be like, wow, that's the end all be all. Gurbani everywhere, but no, it's not. Because even in that state, guess what? It's still the mind that's doing it. Shabad Dwara is when the mind isn't even there anymore. It's just Shabad itself. That is a completely different avastha, which can't even be spoken about. Understanding what that is, that's what Maharaj says, Ke Eko Naam, the one Naam is everything. It is the hukum. Eko Naam hukum hai. The only way to understand it is Gur Satgur Diya Bujai Jiyo. They will help you understand that. But just follow the steps of what Maharaj gives you. Obviously, then we go into the steps, which I'm not going to go into now. But you've heard of this before, right? The path, enlightenment, application. Guru's Kirpa. It can't happen without Guru's Kirpa. You sit there, you are going to do the actions. You're going to take it on your life, right? You're going to do the physical actions. Then you're going to do the meditation in the mind. You're going to apply those into your life. You're going to learn about it. Right? And then what's going to happen? You're just going to do ardas. Maharaj, please do kirpa upon me. After doing it, not saying that I'm not going to do anything that you say, Maharaj. You do all of that, then you say, Maharaj, I still have no power, using that nimarta pav. So all of these qualities, humility, all of these, they still come into play. But what we were speaking about is the overall thing. So these questions about, where do we fit into this play? What is the point of life? Point of life is become one with God. You came here to lose that ego. And then when Maharaj does kirpa, there's only ik there as well. Maharaj has the power to destroy everything. He can destroy all of that. Anyways, so while speaking, while talking, I made many mistakes. Vicharan kardiyan, sari sangat, gajwaj ke fateh bilao ji, Vaheguru ji ka khalsa, Vaheguru ji ki fateh.
If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, share and subscribe. Please donate and help spread Guruji's message. Link is in the description below. Vaheguru ji ka khalsa, Vaheguru ji ki fateh.
Vaheguru